Aerospace-Training Apprenticeship Committee. Welcome to this campus. First, I'd like to introduce the president of South Seattle Community College, Gary Orley.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome to South Seattle Community College and our aviation program. Congratulations to Air Washington on the $20 million DOL grant. That will help increase the number of students that we can train and increase our capacity for getting people back to work. South Seattle also received another DOL grant. We received $1.5 million on a national consortium with community college to do composites training at our Georgetown campus. I really want to thank Laura and the Joint Apprenticeship Joint Apprenticeship Committee for your leadership in putting this together. They're doing a great job, and as you know today, it's all about partnerships and working together as a community to solve the needs of our community. So we're thrilled to be partners in the Air Washington Consortium to meet the needs of industry. We're also, I know, we're extremely lucky to have two great senators that I've worked with over the years that truly know how to bring home the bacon, to get us the money to train people, to get jobs, to help us get back to work. So welcome to South.
Next, I have the great honor of introducing Taylor Washburn, who's been working with the governor's office on Project Pegasus.
Greetings. The governor has made creation of new jobs in this state one of her top priorities. She recognizes the importance of the aerospace sector as the lowest hanging fruit for creating jobs, especially given Boeing's recent decision to ramp up production and create a brand new form of model in the 737 MAX. She's called her effort to get these jobs Project Pegasus, which I'm helping on, and this is basically a statewide effort to ensure that we as a state take all the steps needed to get these additional jobs. Today's news is a big step forward for Project Pegasus and our prospects as a state for success. We stand at a major crossroads, both for our commercial aviation sector and our state economy. Aerospace has been a leading economic driver, 80,000 plus jobs. Our track record of success is based in part on the workforce assets that we've had as a state. With this workforce, Boeing and hundreds of aerospace companies have helped make this state one of the leading clusters in aerospace in the world. Having said this, we face some immediate and real challenges. Our workforce is aging just when Boeing is ramping up production and design of new products is ramping up. Moreover, companies like Boeing work in an intensely competitive global environment and have to find ways to create high-quality planes at a very low cost. Boeing is moving into this new era with the 737 MAX, the most environmentally friendly plane in the sky, which represents a whole new level of innovation and growth. We can't assume that this new plane and the thousands of jobs that will come with it and the future Boeing products will be built in our state. So our ability as a state to remain the home in future years for Boeing's planes remains to a large part on what we do with our workforce challenge. The teamwork across the state, and many of you in the room have been involved, which resulted in this grant, is a major positive milestone in our state's effort to make Washington the compelling business alternative to build all future Boeing planes and other advanced aerospace products. The governor will build on this accomplishment to work with everyone in this room and across the state to grow our cluster and win the MAX contribution. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Joey Dunlop, and he's a critical player in all this Air Washington effort. He actually is the president of Spokane Community College, which is the fiscal agent and managing director of this grant. So, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Well, good morning, everyone. 2.5 years ago, Governor Gregoire called upon higher education to do more with the aerospace industry because not enough was being done to attract, to train, educate, and retain aerospace industry and workers within the state of Washington. Recognizing that workforce development for aerospace industry is critical to Washington's economic future, the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, with assistance from the legislature, began to organize around the governor's appeal. Funding was appropriated to establish an aerospace joint apprenticeship committee charged to establish and coordinate aerospace-related apprenticeship programs throughout the state. 2 aerospace technology centers were created, the Washington Aerospace Training and Research Center at Edmonds Community College and the Inland Northwest Aerospace Technology Center at Spokane Community College. A 10th Center of Excellence was created for aerospace and advanced materials manufacturing at Everett Community College. Additionally, an inventory of programs and courses taught by the 34 community and technical colleges, as well as industry identifying the appropriate knowledge and skills required for the future workforce that served the 600 aerospace-related companies in the Pacific Northwest, was developed. All these initiatives began to answer the call from Governor Gregoire. State funding, because of the current economic slump and reduced state revenues, was not adequate to accomplish in a comprehensive manner what really needed to be done. A year ago, we heard rumblings from Washington, D.C. that there may be a grant funding source available to support community and technical college training programs and infrastructure under the Department of Labor Trade Adjustment Act. After meeting with Department of Education and Department of Labor, Spokane Community College took the lead with grant writing support from Everett Community College and the Center of Excellence, and began working with 11 other community and technical colleges, the 2 aerospace technology centers, the Aerospace Apprenticeship Program, the Center of Excellence, and 14 regional workforce development councils to develop a comprehensive proposal that supported Washington State's aerospace industry. That consortium is affectionately known as Air Washington. More specifically, the colleges involved are Spokane, Big Bend, Clover Park, Edmonds, Everett, North Seattle, Olympic, Peninsula, Renton, Skagit Valley, South Seattle, and Wenatchee, virtually blanketing the entire state with support for the aerospace industry. We were recently notified that the Air Washington Consortium was one of 34 National Department of Labor grants that was funded. The award is for $20 million over a 3-year period of time. The purpose of this grant is to research, develop, design, and implement comprehensive, current, and innovative education and training support services necessary to meet Washington State's growing workforce needs in the aerospace sector. The skills that were needed and the manufacturing jobs that were targeted were identified by our employer partners. And those included advanced manufacturing and machining, aircraft assembly, aircraft maintenance, composites, and electronics. While grant deliverables varied depending on what program, resources, and abilities those colleges, aerospace technology centers, Center of Excellence, and apprenticeship possess, Air Washington will significantly increase the capacity to train aerospace workers throughout the state. It creates an infrastructure that will go on for many years beyond the life of the grant. Components and strategies of the grant focus on accelerated progress for low-skilled workers, support services for veterans and disabled workers, improved retention and achievement rates to reduce time to completion, improved student assessment, recruitment, support services, and instruction, building programs that meet industry needs, including aligning curricula and developing additional career pathways to increase the number of qualified aerospace workers produced by the Air Washington programs. And then lastly, to strengthen online and technology-enabled learning. The targeted occupations that this grant will serve include aircraft structure, surfaces, and rigging assemblers, machinists, and computer numeric controlled machine tool operators, helpers for installation, maintenance, and repair workers, aircraft mechanics and service technicians, and lastly, electrical and electronic assemblers. Critical to this grant are our employer partners that include but are not limited to Absolute Aviation, Aerospace Futures Alliance, Angelus Composites, the Boeing Company, Inland Northwest Aerospace Consortium, Janicki Industries, Pacific Northwest Aerospace Alliance, Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition, Profile Composites North America, International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 751 and 160, and Regional Workforce Development Councils. On behalf of the Air Washington Consortium and the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, I would like to thank Governor Gregoire for her direction and support, Representative Jay Inslee and Senators Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell for their leadership, assistance, and support of this grant. Thank you very much.
Hi, next I have the great opportunity to introduce you to two of the employers who have been directly impacted by this grant. Really, this is what the grant is all about, is helping people get work and have employers be able to have the workers that they need. The first person I'm going to introduce to you is Janie Pierce, who works at Precision Machine Works.
Good morning. I'd like to start by polling the audience and asking you a question. What do all of these items have in common? Apples, coffee, wine, wild salmon, almond roca, blown glass, jerky, and airplanes.
Made in Washington.
Made in Washington, that's right. So what do all the following people have in common? Chris McElroy, 5 years. Sharon Ernst, 7 years. Nick Elzanga, 15 years. Barney De Silva, 16 years. Dave Pratt, 16 years. Rod Linnemeyer, 18 years. Bob Ward, 23 years. Wally Gray, 23 years. Tony McFarland, 23 years. Scott Geip, 24 years. Andy Ulrich, 25 years. Kurt Lund, 28 years. Richard Biederman, 28 years. Scott Neff, 28 years. And Rod Taylor, 33 years. These are machinists made in Washington, and they work for Precision Machine Works. And in a combined total experience, between these now machinists is 312 years. It's pretty remarkable. So I have another question. What do all the following people have in common? I have Carl Craig, Mark Peitzmeyer, Blair Weedman, Mark Marin, Ty Tin, Ryan Crosby, Sergey Pinkovich, Greg Booknight, Jarrett Gilmore, Billy McAteer, Robbie Ward, and Chris Rogers. Those are current apprentices working for Precision Machine Works. We have 12 apprentices currently enrolled in the program. Over 40% of our machinist pool at Precision Machine Works comes from these organized machinist apprenticeship programs in the state of Washington, and we're proud of that. We rely on these programs to bring in skilled machinists into our shop. The one thing that they had in common when they came to Precision Machine Work is that they lacked the experience and the prerequisite skills that were required to do the job. So we rely very heavily on this. We have, just like most aerospace companies, we have a projected growth over the next several years of about 40%. It is estimated that in the worldwide supply chain, there will not be enough spindles in machine shops to have the capacity to meet the demands of the aerospace industry. Well, guess what? A spindle requires a machinist to operate it. So we are already starting to feel the pinch at Precision Machine Works. An ad that you could have ran 6 months ago for machinists or machine operators, I'd have over 100 responses to that ad. Today, I might receive 12 or 15. So there is a gap. There is definitely a skill gap and availability gap. So we've decided to grow our own. And in growing our own, we have to do that through partnerships, through local community colleges and technical colleges. That's where we find these individuals. So the pre-employment skills training programs, the advanced skills training programs afforded through this grant will be fully utilized by Precision Machine Works and other employers like us to continue to grow our business and grow our own skilled workforce. I also want to leave with you that this is not about politics, and this is not about big corporate profits. Okay, maybe a little bit, but it's more about the real people in our state of Washington. The salt of the earth, the people that are just trying to make their way in life, and this gives them the opportunity to get the skills to have a job with livable wages and to be able to support their families, buy homes, and all the things that people dream of doing. So with this grant money, we'll be able to confidently add aerospace workers to the long list of Made in Washington products as we move forward. So with that, I'd like to just turn it over to Chris Rogers, somebody currently in the making of Made in Washington, being made in Washington currently as a machinist. So Chris?
Hi. I can't begin to express to you how much the programs like this mean to me and the apprentices that I work with. I started out I got laid off 3.5 years ago, and there wasn't any paying jobs out there available to carry me through the future. It was low-paying jobs, work at the job several years, and try to make it back up to the top. So I went back to works course, and I said, hey, I don't want to be just another phone call guy. Let's replace me. I got back into school and started out at South Puget Sound Community College, and I actually got out of my apartment. I bought a trailer and put it on my parents' property, went to school for a year, took a 2-year program in a year, and graduated top of my class. And here, 3.5 years later, I'm a 2-year apprentice. I'm 2 years away from being a journeyman. I bought a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house, new truck, and my life is wonderful.
Great. Now we have another employer who also represents folks who will be impacted directly by this grant, and Randy Elrom is with All Flight.
Good morning, everybody. When I looked into this program a while back, I have our Director of Human Resources, Jenna Whitrock, and Patrick Simon, which is somebody that's going to be impacted by this for years to come. We first, as a repair station, we have to comply with the FARs. The FAA is coming to age with all of the technology, and with a gap in the employees that we're getting out in the marketplace, it makes it very tough to be competitive. We have since started looking at new ways to get more competitive, and one of the things is to have trained employees come in on the front side. Technology in composites is not just a dope and fabric type program anymore. It's actually a lab type program, and those programs take skilled employees. We, as a company, want to make sure that aerospace is carried on long after I'm gone and the rest of our team are gone. This being said, we have employees that start off in lower skilled areas in our company, and with Laura's help and Ajax, we are going to be able to increase that amount of employees. Right now, we currently have 50 employees, and at this same time next year, we want to be at 100. I know it's not thousands like the Boeing company, but it's 50 more employees that will have a chance, will have something that will change tomorrow. With the folks that are coming back and returning as veterans from the Gulf War, they need to have jobs as well. And so this is a great opportunity for them to get something in training and learn something new. Our guys and gals that work at All Flight, we have a college spirit. It is about how do we make sure that our customers are taken care of. We serve the public. One of our largest customers is UPS. UPS entrusts us with their components. We return them to service and make sure that they fly safely. This program will make sure that we can get skilled employees going forward. Specialized training is one of the things that we have to work on, and we've had many challenges in this area. With the composites and some of these newer programs that are going on, we'll be able to bring in skilled labor that is not going to have to go through weeks and weeks and weeks of what we call dirt room. Dirt room is an area where the components are cleaned and brought into the shop for rework. Our component shop essentially takes parts that are 30 years old and we refurbish them to new or alike condition. AJAC is going to make sure that we have these programs long into the future. Boeing is one of the largest employers in this area. They have a tendency to take the skilled labor that we have that would come about from the A&P schools. This again gives another opportunity for folks to have training and learn something new when they've been laid off. Patrick here is one of the guys that started out. We have a very intensive training program in-house, and Patrick is one of the success stories in that program. He started off in no experience whatsoever. 6 months he was working in the layup room and had a desire to move on. He now works in what we call a slat cell. We do these leading edge slats, over 100 of them a year, and they go to global customers all over the world. This, again, this program is very exciting for us. We really appreciate Laura and her programs that she's brought in here, and we look for a bright future in Washington State. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have the great opportunity to have with us the two senators from Washington State who have fought vigorously for the aerospace industry in Washington. And first up, I'd like to introduce Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Laura, and I'm glad to be here with so many people. Certainly want to recognize Tom Worlewski from the Machinist who is here, the Center of Excellence for Advanced Aerospace, Mary Kay Brudenson, and many of the people who are involved in workforce from around the state. Boy, today is certainly a day to celebrate because we're here to talk about how we're going to help secure more aviation jobs, not only for our region, but for the country. And we're here to outline the fact that a critical investment is going to allow Washington State to still be the leading aerospace manufacturing center in the world. We're talking here about building capacity for 21st century jobs. In just 20 years, the global aerospace industry will be worth $3.6 trillion. Investments like this $20 million federal grant, helps Air Washington, an organization that is a coalition, as you can see, of educators and those involved in aerospace manufacturing. It helps them better prepare for that aviation future. So I'm glad to be here with my colleague, Senator Murray, who plays a leadership role in the Help Committee on Workforce Training issues, because we know that workforce training needs to continually upgrade and improve and drive down the cost of education. This unique coalition of educational institutions and businesses make this point very clear today. If we build capacity for more job training, we can employ more unemployed Washingtonians in a key sector and industry that is so important to Washington State's economy, aviation. This comprehensive approach will match job skill programs, as you heard, at 14 different locations and help hundreds of aerospace employers. This program is about putting Washingtonians back to work, and it's about us continuing to be competitive. As you heard, it'll also help veterans who currently now have an even higher unemployment rate than most Washingtonians, and it'll also help displaced workers get back to work. By supporting a variety of programs, this short two-quarter pre-employment programs to 2-year longer aircraft maintenance programs, we are going to put a lot of people back to work. Machinists can get certificates, FAA certificate degrees, aircraft mechanics and service technician certificates, comptroller machine tool operator certificates, air maintenance and repair certificates, and air structure and surface rigging and system assembler certificates. So lots of opportunity for those Washingtonians who want a job. They need to come back and be reskilled and retooled in aerospace. These new programs could not come at a more critical time for Washington State. With our high unemployment rate, we know that there are jobs not only at Boeing, but at many of the supply chain companies throughout Puget Sound. And as was said by our previous speaker, oftentimes when Boeing gears up, they take the workforce from the supply chain of manufacturers, the over 600 industry employers that are here in Puget Sound, and then those industry employers are left trying to find a workforce. And so it is important that we continue to build the infrastructure to employ and retrain people to take those jobs of the future. And as you know, Boeing currently produces 31 of its 737 per month at our Renton facility. And earlier this year, they announced the plan to increase more production. And obviously, we heard from Taylo about not only the 787, but other things. And Senator Murray and I worked very hard on the tanker deal. So all of that said, between those three projects, what we're saying is there are a lot of aviation jobs for the future here in Washington State. But we have to train and skill a workforce to do that work, and that's what today is all about, retooling the ability for our education facilities and employers to reskill and retrain the next generation of aerospace workers so we can fill those job openings, put Washingtonians back to work, and continue to be the center of excellence for aerospace that we are in Washington State. So congratulations to everybody who worked hard on this. I also just want to call out the fact that Spokane took the lead on this in the application, and Spokane has a very big aviation hub, and they are continuing to build that. So this is critically important all across Washington State. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cantwell. Thank you for all your hard work. Next, I have the great privilege of introducing Senator Patty Murray.
Well, thank you so much, and let me join everybody in congratulating Air Washington and all of their member organizations who put so much work into this, and I know it is going to pay off for our workers and for our businesses across our state. You know, there's been a lot of talk recently about the budget deficit, and it is very important that we focus on the debt and deficit. It is a real challenge for our country. Some of you may have heard I have a small involvement in that. And we are working hard to create a bipartisan plan to address that. But when I come back here to Washington State and Seattle and all across the state, people tell me what they are interested in is getting our economy back on track. Their number one priority is jobs. So as we all work hard to address the budget deficit, we cannot forget that our nation's success also depends on solving our infrastructure deficit, our innovation deficit, and the issue that we are all here today about, our jobs and skills deficit. We have some great businesses here in Washington State. Some of the most innovative companies are creating new products and building better machines and doing more and more to satisfy their customers. And nowhere do we see this more clearly than in aerospace. This is an industry that helped build our state, and it is one that I know is going to keep our state at the front of the pack for decades to come. So when I talk to owners and managers at aerospace firms and suppliers here in Seattle and across our state, I get very concerned when they highlight to us the skills gap as one of their biggest issues in making sure they're at that forefront for decades to come. They all tell me they have jobs open, ready to fill, and on the other side, we have a lot of people in our state who want to go back to work, who want that job. But too many of those workers who are applying for these jobs don't have the skills and training they need to fill those positions. That is what needs to change. The skills gap is an issue that I have spent a lot of time on. I'm working now with Democrats and Republicans to reauthorize and reform our Workforce Investment Act that will make a big difference so that local communities have the tools and resources to help build their local businesses, like the aerospace industry for us. And I am so proud to be here with Senator Cantwell, who has worked so hard with us to urge the Secretary of Labor to bring this critical investment that we are celebrating here to Washington State. I just have to tell you, in any conversation we have in Washington, D.C., no matter what room or where it is, Senator Cantwell is always the one who says, tell me how this creates jobs. She is keeping us focused, and that's why she is worked so hard to make sure that this happened. This is a $20 million investment in Washington State workers, and as Senator Cantwell said, it couldn't come at a more critical time. It will help many of our workers skill up, train up, and get to work. And at the end of the day, this is about jobs. And I especially am pleased to have the veterans component be a part of this. As chair of the Veterans Committee, I talked to too many great people who come back from serving our nation with tremendous work skills. They show up at work on time. They are dedicated. They know how to do a job, but they lack a few skills to get back in the workforce. So I especially want to thank all of you for including them. But this is about our future. This is about Washington State's future. It's about our workforce future. It's about keeping this important aerospace industry and putting people back to work. So I'm very proud to be here today with all of you. Thank you so much for including us, and I will keep working with you, as I know Senator Cantwell will, to make sure we focus on jobs. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everybody for coming. I do believe we have a couple minutes left. I'm looking back here to see some of the staff members for question and answers for the senators. Is that still true? Yes, okay. So I'll open it up for the press to ask some questions.
For Senator Cantwell, I know that you've been obviously talking about jobs. The President's job creation bill did not make it in the Senate. I wanted to ask, what is it going to take to get some sort of job creation package out of Washington, D.C. with your colleagues?
Well, it's very important that we continue to focus on what we can do between now and next year. Because a lot of people will just say, like, let's wait till next year. We have to focus on what we can do now to create jobs. And so I'm hopeful that our leadership in the Senate, along with Senator Murray, will start taking pieces of that job package and bringing it up for votes. Because I hope that we just spend every single day voting on aspects of that. The American people are behind the package. They want to see something passed. And this is a perfect example. You have employers here saying, boy, if you just give these workers this chance to reskill, we can hire them and put them to work. So Senator Murray mentioned infrastructure. That's a key area that I hope we have a separate vote on. I hope we have a separate vote on energy issues, because I think they're vital to keeping down energy costs for the future and retrofitting. And so I just hope we'll go about having vote after vote until we show the American people that there are a majority of senators who do want to pass a jobs package.
And Senator Murray, you mentioned the super committee. If we could get an update on that, and are you confident?
I mentioned it.
Are you confident that you'll be able to meet that Thanksgiving deadline?
We have a tremendous challenge in front of us. $1.5 trillion or more is a huge amount of money, and it impacts every American's life. We are working our way through very carefully in a bipartisan way, because at the end of the day, there are 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans, and we realize the impact this is going to have on people's lives. We know we need to have a fair and balanced package. It isn't easy, or it would have been done already. We're working very hard to meet that deadline, and I am always a cup half full, but I think it's especially important this time around, because I think the American public is really looking at us to determine whether this democracy can work, as well as face a serious challenge. So we're working hard at it.
So as far as optimism goes, are you half full, 3/4 full?
I would tell you that I get up every day optimistic. So that's how I look at life, and I believe that all of us in Congress, on or off the committee, understand the complexity of this, as well as the important challenge, and we are working hard to make that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will be taking a small tour